The Bitcoin Group, the American original. For over the last 10 seconds, the sharpest Satoshis, the best Bitcoins, the hardest cryptocurrency talk. We'd like to welcome our panelists. Dan Eve, the Crypto Raptor.
Hi, everyone.
No sound. Ben Ark from LN Bits.
Hello.
Josh Igala from thestandard.io.
How's it going, gents and ladies?
Martine Wishmayer from General Bytes.
What's up, what's up, what's up?
And I'm Thomas Hunt from the World Crypto Network. Moving on to issue one. Issue one. Bitcoin weak hands mostly gone as Bitcoin ignores Amazon and Meta stock dip. Huge tech stock losses, mostly occurring after the Wall Street close, failed to show up in Bitcoin price weakness. Dan Eve, is your microphone working? What do you think about Bitcoin decoupling from tech stocks?
Well, Tom, is that working? Right, I can see the thing moving up and down. No,
There
it's
it
working.
is. Now
There we go. Oh, geez. Okay, technical issues. Oh, it's good, right? It's as tech stocks are taking a dive, it's more of a sign that we're kind of decoupling from everything else. Amazon's had a 20% drop. Meta's gone down. I think Amazon actually was the biggest single like stock loss in history or something. It was in the 200 billions or from their drop recently. But just again, it shows how Bitcoin is transitioning into a safe haven asset, and it's tracking gold more than it is tech stocks, more than it is other sort of asset classes. So it's a sign that it's finally being its place in the financial markets is finally being realized, that it's not just sort of some play tool for messing around with, for some nefarious. I mean, for a start, it's becoming, its resilience is showing the fact that it's not this play tool for kind of for just money laundering and crime and stuff like that. It's actually being used, and especially as we've seen so many use cases around getting money into into things like Ukraine, for example. So the ability to donate across the world without having to have a PayPal account. PayPal, who have again, it seems like, reinstated their $2,500 fine for misinformation or whatever the PayPal Gestapo decides on is misinformation. So the fact that Bitcoin is keeping its ground, and especially around above the 20K level, it's a good sign, I think, in these troubled times.
Ben Ark, it says that Amazon stock went down 20%. That could only happen to a radical asset like Bitcoin, right? Not Amazon stock.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's related to costs of labor and then also shipping costs as well, because obviously they've been affected by the energy markets. And then there's contagion when you have a big player like Amazon, which gets affected by, which is its value decreases, then also affects other companies within the tech sector as well. There is some, coupling which happens between all these companies, of course. But I think with regard to Bitcoin, it's just the environment and market we're in. So we're in a kind of bear market, and there's a general economic downturn in markets, and everything's getting a bit flat and boring. So there's less speculation. And if we're in a bull market, there'd be more speculation and more people in Bitcoin just to try and make a quick buck. Whereas now the sorts of people who are in Bitcoin are the gold bugs and the people who see Bitcoin as a safe haven asset. So I wouldn't say that we can say it's decoupled and now it's plain sailing. We're a hedge against crisis and it's a safe haven asset. I think as soon as markets pick back up again, as soon as the speculators come back in, as soon as the Bitcoin price goes back up, then the people who are buying and selling Bitcoin will predominantly be people who are trying to get a quick buck. So I think it's just market dependent and on the time in which we're in. And we're currently in a bear market, so it sort of makes sense that people would treat it like the sorts of people who would be interested in it for more than just making a quick buck as a hedge or a safe haven asset.
Josh Shigala, the tech stocks went down, but the Bitcoin is still going sideways. How is that possible? You're muted.
Bitcoin slightly up, right? And so there's other classes though, like the housing market starting to crumble. We're seeing 10% less sales than there were, something like that. And so people aren't spending. This is what happens when you destroy an economy over 2 years because of wanting whatever. I won't get into conspiracies, but this is what happens when you systematically destroy a global economy and prop up one sector called the pharmaceutical sector, and now the war machine over in Ukraine. Basically, you're getting what you get. You prop up these couple of sectors, you destroy the rest of them, you're going to suck. Not only that, everyone is racing in the tech sector, is racing towards removing the human out of most places. AI is accelerating at such a pace that it hasn't truly disrupted much now, but I'm already starting to use text to image generation a lot more than getting someone on Fiverr to do something. It happened to me the other day, and I thought, oh, I just did that. So as less and less people maybe they find other jobs, I'm not sure, but we as a humanity are heading towards something that we don't quite understand yet how to solve, and there's not enough philosophy being bantered about, and there should be.
Well, I agree, Josh. It's been difficult for the world to recover from the 2 or 3 years of pandemic. I remember after the Black Plague, everyone was like, it's over. And then they never felt the effects of the Black Plague again. But actually, these kind of things drift on, and it takes a long time to get them out of the economic system.
Thomas remembers the Black Plague. That's how old this host is. That's how long this show has been going for.
It's been that long. It was a tough time. The water handles, they use the same water handles to get the water. It's a big problem. You have to reorganize the city. But Martine, what do you think? It says the Bitcoin weak hands are mostly gone, or maybe just they didn't sell even though their tech stocks went down. What happened?
I think the tech stocks, in this case, Amazon, Facebook, Google, they went down because there's just no growth in the cloud business anymore. Their company, they depend on advertising income, the Google and Facebook, but Amazon is primarily cloud hoster, and people host less in the cloud. They're watching their pennies, so they're not spending as much. And essentially, I think this whole cloud business plateaued right now. There's no real business, not more business in being a cloud hoster, whether that's Amazon's cloud or Google's or Microsoft Azure. They're all not doing very well. We see reduced ad spending, so this also hurts the tech stocks. Facebook is a mess because they're no longer Facebook. They don't even know what they really are, and their metaverse is not playing out as planned. So yeah, Bitcoin, it's up a little, but I mean, really, I'm not even looking at those bumps. You wake me up when there's a new all-time high, and until then, it will probably go sideways a little. I think it's good to decouple, even though I think we're not there yet. We've seen the Bitcoiners tend to view Bitcoin as a risk-off asset. And yes, it will protect you, and there is limited supply, but most investors right now, especially the weak-hand retail investors, they see it as a risk-on asset, and they don't yet know that by keeping the Bitcoin over time, this will be the best decision they probably ever make.
It has been interesting to see Facebook lose their identity after successfully acquiring Instagram, WhatsApp, so many other things, and just letting them be, not merging them fully into Facebook. They seem to have lost it with this metaverse idea, renaming the company, spending billions of dollars. It doesn't make any sense. Now, Amazon going down, they say that's a demand issue. There's going to be less demand for goods, so on and so forth. But still, what a company on sale. Moving on to the exit question. Predict against the amazing Bitcoin predictor ball, the largest Bitcoin predictor ball in the industry, the most correct, the baldest Bitcoin ball. Dan Eve, Is the price of Bitcoin going to be higher or lower this time next week?
So building on my incredible losing streak of predictions, I'm going to say higher next week.
Ooh.
Ben Ark, higher or lower?
Lower. Gonna have a crash. It's gonna suck. Sorry.
Josh Shigala, counter this pessimism, higher or lower?
After a lot of deep thought and looking into the glass and stirring the pot, I actually do feel that it's going to go higher. I'm with Dan on this one.
Martine Wishmayer, higher or lower? It's 2-1 higher right now.
I think it will be a little bit higher, but not yet a big bull run start for the next halving. I think that we'll have to wait a few more months, but a little bit higher, yes.
All right, some positivity out there, and let's shake the ball, see what happens. I have too many computers plugged in today to use the camera. So
I was right last week, by the way, everybody.
I don't
comments.
remember.
Put it in the comments.
You
And
can
will
guess
the
I was
price of
wrong.
Bitcoin be higher this time next week? Cannot predict now. You can't always get what you want.
But it's the
Sideways.
predictor of predictors.
Yeah.
It's a testy
The
thing.
prognosticator of prognosticators.
Only sometimes. Not
It's
today.
the triangle of triangulators.
Moving
But
on
not
to
today.
issue 2. Gold versus Bitcoin correlation signals Bitcoin becoming a safe haven. According to Bank of America, yes, wild and crazy Bitcoin activists, Bank of America, have declared that Bitcoin, an alternative currency from the internet, mainly used at drug websites like Silk Road and by dirty money launderers, could be a safe haven against inflation and other economic disasters. Ben Ark, what has overtaken these radical Bank of America people? Are they going to be flying pirate flags next?
Guys, it's becoming mainstream, isn't it? The Bitcoin, the Trojans got through the door and we're there, and now they see it as the safe haven. It is a safe haven against inflation. It's, the amount of Bitcoin which will ever exist is currently calculated into the protocol. So it's got immense predictability in a fairly unpredictable world, as we saw during the COVID pandemic when the world became unpredictable. Bitcoin found a place in people's hearts for being something which could be predictable and something you could at least ensure the amount of Bitcoin they're going to be, which is, but yeah, like I said in the last segment, that it's currently, because we're in this bear market, then of course gold bug types, they're going to be seeing a lot of value in Bitcoin, even more so if it starts to actively look like it's decoupling from traditional markets. But as soon as the price goes up, it'll just probably track along with traditional markets and the Nasdaq and the FTSE and whatever else.
Josh Shigala, what about these incredible radicals at Bank of America? I've heard they've coined a new phrase. They say that Bitcoin is digital gold. They invented that, Bank of America.
They invented that, did they? Well, what's quite interesting is that I didn't know that tulip bubbles could become safe havens at the same time. That's amazing, because Bank of America, JP Morgan, all of these were calling it a tulip bubble. Now, these are so-called financial experts, right? When I was on YouTube in 2011, explaining why Bitcoin is not a tulip bubble, what were these people saying? So just don't listen to them. Listen to shows like this. You'll get the experts here. These people are fools, and they go along with the train. They'll tell you to sell at the bottom. They'll tell you to buy at the top, like most nonsense tellers. So listen to shows like this. We'll tell you what time it is. We won't tell you financial advice, but we will tell you what time it is. So yeah, it's kind of interesting that we're starting to see these mainstream voices really come out to what we've been saying for a very, very long time. And that is that Bitcoin is ultimately one of some of the rarest things in the world. You yourself are ultimately rare because there's only one of you, but there's only 21 million Bitcoin. And a lot of those have been lost forever. You can never find them again. So it's ultimately rare. It's ultimately a safe haven. I don't believe it is a safe haven yet. I think it's going to still take a long time. Depends how long you've got. I think gold is a safe haven because it's been around for 5,000 years, and there's millions and millions of people that buy this stuff, not only culturally, religiously, but also just because it's beautiful, but also as an investment and for electronics and all sorts of stuff. So gold has its spot. Bitcoin is getting there. It'll get there when it's around about, $500,000. That's when it'll start to plateau across to being this thing where it won't shift ridiculous amounts. But right now, Bitcoin can still shift 20% in a day, like Amazon. But anything that shifts 20% a day willy-nilly, to me, isn't yet a safe haven. But it's designed to be a safe haven long term.
Martine Wismar, what's up with these Bank of America radicals suddenly embracing this tulip currency?
Maybe they know something we don't know about the stability of their banks. It's not that I don't accuse them, but is your money safe in a bank, or is your money maybe safer stored in a hardware wallet somewhere? So I think the hardware wallet is definitely a safer option here. So as Josh said, I don't believe it is a risk or a safe haven yet. Time will tell. This is Bitcoin's first test. So if we will have a recession, how will it work for Bitcoin? We don't know yet, but time will tell. But my bet is on Bitcoin.
Dan, Eve, you can trust Bank of America, even though they were originally founded in San Francisco as Bank of Italy.
Well, I think the key difference now between all their opinions, it's a really, really simple one. They have Bitcoin now. That's the difference, right? Before they'd be like, and now they have Bitcoin. They're like, well, this thing ain't so bad. It's not so bad. So why not, start shilling it now? I think with Martin, this is going to be a real. Obviously, we've had many kind of tests along the way in terms of the general software, ups and downs in terms of countries' regulation. But it was born out of a recession. So how will it fare? But obviously, 2 years into the recession, right? Because it kicked off the 2007, 2008. So, and obviously Bitcoin was January 3rd, 2009. So how will it fare during this current recession? At the moment, it's obviously quite resilient, but there's not just a recession now / looming, depending on who says what the definition of a recession is nowadays. But the fact is that there's a lot of craziness happening in the world, right? We seem seemingly on the brink of world war, and that's something that will always kind of play into, it will make a safe haven unsafe because, even if you have gold, for example, that's still going to be, you still got to cart gold around and stuff in a war zone if it ever comes to that. So nothing's a safe haven when you've got something as big as a world war sort of looming. So that's why all the markets seem chaotic, but at least Bitcoin has been actually kind of moving quite sideways. But what there are reports of is a lot more Bitcoin outflows from exchanges, and that's a big indicator of people pulling their money from exchanges and holding their own keys and not wanting to have their Bitcoin as liquid as it currently is now. So that's I think these are positive signs. And then obviously you've got the standard kind of the network stats, which is that it's about 257 exahashes, which is still within 10% of all-time high. Bitcoin mining difficulties at its highest. I think it's like 36 or 38 trillion or something like that. So it's whichever one it is, it's very high, and therefore the building and all the infrastructure carries on. So despite all the crap that's happening in the rest of the world, you've got services like Elon Bits that are smashing it right now. You've got obviously core, Bitcoin core coders, as if I need to make a distinction. But Bitcoin coders, like they're keeping the flow. They're sort of building more infrastructure that's going to be used when the bull market does come. So you're only going to have more services, more places to use your Bitcoin, and more of a a showcase of Bitcoin's abilities to transact internationally. That's all happening, and that's what's cool about it. So who cares about gold anyway?
Exit question.
Apart from Voltoro. Gold is still very good. Gold is still very good. But
exit question. Have you pushed the like button? Push the like button down below now to help support the show, and push subscribe. Moving on to issue 3, Lightning Network on CashApp. CashApp, one of the most popular ways to buy Bitcoin in the United States, now accepts the Lightning Network. This is exciting news to see a large mainstream company like CashApp, founded by Jack Dorsey, co-founder of Twitter, beat Coinbase to the punch. Where is Coinbase? Where is Kraken? Where are the other exchanges? Where are the easy-to-use Lightning apps? It turns out CashApp is the winner. Joshua Shigala, what do you think about CashApp accepting the Lightning Network?
Yeah, awesome. Actually, Kraken does have Lightning, and
for some time already.
Yeah, and also BitPay even has Lightning. So, BitPay, for a lot of the people, they were such ahead of their time back in the day, and then they really pissed everyone off by like changing a standard that didn't need to be changed, which they, after a few years, reversed, and now they've gone full in and working well and doing their thing. So congratulations to everyone accepting Bitcoin through Lightning Network. I think it'll really make some of these misnomers or FUD start to sound ridiculous, like the fees are too big or it's too slow, because it through Lightning it isn't.
Martine Wishmayer, I've heard environmentalists say that one Bitcoin transaction destroys 100,000 trees. Now that we have the Lightning Network, do you think they'll still say that?
Yeah, I try to explain the Lightning Network to them as a layer on top Bitcoin, but they are so convinced that they're right. It's usually very difficult to convince somebody that they were wrong, because it means that they have to rethink what their opinion is, and usually people don't do that. But I use the Lightning Network several times a day. I play games on my phone. I get a few sats. Sometimes it's just 5 Satoshis, but I get them without fees, and they arrive in my wallet in no time. And my Breeze wallet is connected to my own Umbrel node. So instead of using the Lightning Network, you become the Lightning Network. And it's nice, it's educational, it's super cheap. And yes, it's not really super fast. It's fast. It's like a few seconds, but still it's not super fast. It could be improved there, I think. But yeah, I like it. It works. And now that the larger CashApp is adding it, I think it's fantastic, even though everybody's raving about CashApp, but this app is not available in your country. And whatever the country is, unless it's like the US, then yeah, you can use it. But I think it's good. I think it's also very good for exchanges to start implementing this. At the beginning, they were a bit slow, and I think they did that because there were like risks involved. It took like a few months before we enabled it on our Bitcoin ATMs as well, because we wanted to know what the risks are in actually operating or accepting Lightning, and then giving them end user cash. So yeah, but now that everything works, I think it's fantastic. Yes, Lightning, boom.
By the way, folks, Voltoro, the exchange I started with my brother back in 2015, still going strong. Oro was the first exchange in the world to accept Lightning Network. Reckless as hell.
That
but
was
it was
a
worth
shameless shill.
Yeah, I'm just going to shamelessly shill that right now.
Yeah.
No, but I was very proud of that, because it was very, very difficult to do in that stage. Like there was none of the software existed that exists now.
Not so
we
much
didn't have
documentation.
wonderful stuff like LM bits, and my team really pulled it together, and we did it first. So I was just very happy with that.
If it wasn't for companies like Voltoro, like trailblazing and actually using an experiment with the technology, then obviously that's where it all starts from, isn't it? Those first 100 nodes, you were in the first 100 node, weren't you? The first 100 nodes to be running.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah, and
Wow.
we were the biggest node for a while there.
Wow. But such a pain in the ass to manage a node at that. I mean, it's still a pain in the ass to manage a node. And I guess that's been the reservation of a lot of these exchanges. It's a whole new. You have to really hire like a few DevOps people to run nodes. Particularly if you're managing millions of dollars worth of funds in a hot wallet, then it's still hard to run and manage a node effectively, and to actually have those fast transactions and not have transactions fail. That is getting easier. I always say to people, like with Bitcoin,
Balance channels.
Yeah, balancing channels and all that stuff. I mean, the work which the autopilot features, like CL Boss on C Lightning, is absolutely spectacular bit of programming, and that's making things a lot easier. You can just chuck funds at it, on-chain funds, and it'll go blue and make channels for you. And we have that in the LM Bits demo server at the moment, and it means that we very rarely have to go in and balance channels. But still, it's still a big fat pain for people. But it's because this stuff is hard, and it's like hard. It's hard. We're building this software live, aren't we? We're building these solutions live, and there's things, creases which need to get ironed out. The version of Bitcoin Lightning we have now, in 6 months' time, it's going to be like a gazillion times better. This is the worst version of Bitcoin we've got right now today, and then tomorrow it'll be a little bit better, and the next day will be a little bit better, and everything gets a little bit easier. And there's some great solutions like the hosted channel solutions for, or like giving you sort of band-aid channel balancing, so your liquidity doesn't suffer from inbound or outbound liquidity if you need liquidity quickly. So there's a whole bunch of things which can make running nodes easier, and then ultimately we'll have things like channel factories, so there won't be an on-chain cost to setting up channels, which will make a huge difference because it means that you can have more channels and smaller channels. And then we get towards that Lightning Network, which we first heard about when Andreas would do his talks and talk about this new thing, Lightning Network, in the Lightning paper, which he'd read, where all these little IoT devices could have their own node running, could have their own channels, and they could be spending liquidity. Then that's when we get to that future. But currently, we're still reliant upon a little bit of tech savvy in order to be able to run a node effectively. And yeah, they're a huge pain in the ass. But I can totally see why a lot of these companies have been reluctant to adopt it. And thank God for the trailblazers like Voltoro, and then a little bit later on now we've got Kraken joining the fray. I was speaking to a couple of the Kraken guys a couple of weeks ago, and they're going to be hopefully adding some API endpoints as well, so we can generate invoices to Kraken via the API. So that'd be super cool for software which can then talk to Kraken over its API. So yeah, it's great. People are making use of the technology, and it's started to finally sort of really get traction.
CashApp is also not available in New York thanks to the BIT license.
Oh yeah, the CashApp thing. So with CashApp, I think this is one of the big complaints. As you saw that QR code, and it's just like Bitcoin vomit. So it's such a complex QR code, and we have all these great solutions like the LNURL stuff, like Lightning Address. Use Lightning Address, like make use of it. Make use of this technology which the free and open source community have built out. And that QR code could be a gazillion times smaller. In fact, it could be a Lightning address, so you could just give it out to somebody. It could be, Ben at CashApp.com, Ben Ark at CashApp.com. There we are. That's hard, isn't it? Send me Bitcoin, So I think some of these big companies like CashApp, Strike as well, they need to look to the actual Bitcoin development community, and then they need to just adopt some of the great free and open source solutions and protocols people have built, like LNURL and the Lightning address stuff. So that's kind of a bit disheartening that they haven't done that, but I guess I don't know. They want to do it their own way. But whatever.
It is one of the scariest QR codes I've ever seen, and they just seem to get more and more scary. I think it makes people more serious, like they're dealing with money. It's like, I'm using a QR code with a logo and a graphic and 1,000 more little bits.
Inclusive though for banking unbanked, like the cheap Android phones will struggle to scan that QR code. So you're excluding, 20% of phones on the planet, and like 95% of phones of people who haven't got much funds to buy an expensive fancy schmancy phone. So,
but the marketing guy says it looks great. Dan, Eve, what do you think about CashApp accepting Lightning?
Well, it's fantastic, and it's great to see another big huge service that's that's integrating Lightning. I suppose, you know, everyone's been a bit, or the larger companies have been slightly slower to do so because, you know, there's still kind of that warning slapped every now and then, which is like Lightning Network's experimental. So, you know, there's a bit more risk involved if they're going to a huge app that's going to be managing huge amounts of Bitcoin. But you know, it's mature enough now, right? It's definitely a proven way of transacting, and obviously it's extraordinarily cheap compared to any other chain, like, you know, for not just Bitcoin main chain, but all those excuses about you know, XRP can process because a gajillion gigawatts a second and all that, and you know, the Lightning just craps on it really, with sub-Satoshi level transactions. So it's great to see, yeah, big app following suit. I didn't actually think about that, the complexity of that QR code not being, it's a good point about it not being scannable by sort of old school phones. But you'd think, like, I don't know, surely, you know, even a basic phone would be able to handle it. But hopefully they've thought about that and they're not cornering people out of the market with crap phones. But ultimately, yeah, it's just great to see another application that's worldwide, obviously apart from my country and several others and New York and blah blah blah, but it's good to see that it's another service that's just rolling out Lightning to a huge swathe of customers and giving them access to Bitcoin. That's always fantastic, isn't it, to be able to, we've always asked for these huge existing services to roll out Bitcoin or Lightning transactions, and now we're just seeing floods of them doing so. So it's great news for Bitcoin and Lightning.
And it does seem to take a while. As everyone said, they have to test the software. They have to be sure of it. They even have to hire specialized engineers to handle this weird Bitcoin stuff. But the companies do seem to come around. Moving on to the exit question, Martin already pretty much answered. But what do you do with Lightning? Do you have anything fun that you've done with Lightning recently? I know, Martin, you said you use it all over the place. Go ahead.
Games, beers, more games, more beers. We use it for the Bitcoin meetup so that we pay the entrance, but we also buy chicken wings, loaded fries, everything. You know, you can buy everything with Lightning. So there's no excuse not to install a Lightning wallet and just get stacking those sets.
Yeah, and Hunter S. Thompson, you know, hookers and blow too, I guess. There you go.
Yeah, I wanted to keep it polite, so yeah, I'm not yeah, that's.
You can get hot dogs and nachos with Lightning. It's amazing. Josh Shigala, what have you used with Lightning lately?
Oh yeah, man. I actually bought, what did I buy? I bought the book, the latest one from Andreas Antonopoulos for Lightning. Mastering Bitcoin 2 or whatever. I don't know what one of them. Mastering Lightning. I think it was Mastering Lightning. I think it is. It's called Mastering Lightning. Yeah. I bought Mastering Lightning.
That's a really tricky title. I could see.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. No, I just I bought it off Anita Posh for with Lightning, so that was really cool. And games, graffitis on some virtual walls with Lightning. That was cool. And just paying people, like paying people back at conferences. If they buy me a beer, I quickly sling them some Lightning sats, and yeah, awesome.
And hookers and blow.
You can also get that at the conferences. Dan, Eve, what have you used Lightning for lately?
I haven't actually used it. The last time, looking at this, the last time I used it was shamefully 2 months ago. But it was using some sort of LM bits function. I think Ben was testing. I think it was the kind of dice, the LM bits type dice game you made. So at least it was for a good cause. I haven't made many transactions recently. It's a bear market, so I'm just trying to hold on because I've made the mistake since 2013 of selling during a bear market and using it and being like, well, I might as well use Bitcoin and contribute. But no, now I am hodling.
It's sad because I seem to not do it anymore, but you used to give people dollars all the time in Bitcoin. You're like, set up a wallet, I'll send you $1. And that's kind of disastrous in the long run because you're giving away $1 or $5 or $10 to prove it. What I think is great about the Lightning Network and something that's easy to use like Wallet of Satoshi you can get them to set it up, and then you could send them like a Satoshi or a couple of Satoshis, like not that much money.
That's cheap, Thomas. That's cheap.
Well, I'm trying to help the future people out there. The future people are like, I want to help people get Bitcoin, but I don't want to give away, dollars like that dumb mad Bitcoins guy. I want to give away, micro pennies.
Is there a sat? Is there like a Sats rate?
Dan, your
Surely that
microphone
would
broke.
be cool. Oh, yeah. So surely it'd be cool if there was a Sats rain. Like if Root created, instead of a Doge rain, he created a Sats rain app. That would be cool, right? A lightning
That would
Sats
be cool.
rain.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but people were gaming the Dogecoin app at the time. I knew somebody had 40 cheap Chinese mobile phones running all at the same time to game this Dogecoin app. So
Oh, wow.
I'm not sure if it would really really benefit everyone. That was probably just people just thinking. Oh, another
That
cool
probably paid
lightning
off.
feature I totally forgot is satsback.com. You buy stuff online and then you get sats back. And the way it works is that the advertising income that satsback.com gets via the referral link or affiliate link, they split it with you. So every day when I get some deliveries, like food and snacks and stuff, I get sats back. The more I eat, the more sats back. Look, it's really big belly now. So I got a lot of sats back there.
Inspirational weight loss journey there, Martin. And now we'll go to Ben Ark. Last but not least, what have you been doing with Lightning lately with LN Bits?
I bought 2 cappuccinos, 2 cinnamon rolls this morning from my local coffee shop, which I onboarded to accept Bitcoin over Lightning, and that's the way. If you want to have somewhere to spend your sats, just onboard your local coffee shop. Often these local coffee shops, which are run by some local business dude, they're quite keen on accumulating some Bitcoin, and it's a nice way for them to accumulate some Bitcoin. So do it. Go in. Say if you ever thought about accepting Bitcoin, talk them through it, set them up with a wallet, boom, and then you can buy your coffees. And it was great. It was a great experience. Buying my coffee this morning, it was seamless. The interesting thing which I did this week, in fact, was I was speaking to, I can't really name them, but there's a because obviously the eCash stuff is quite big in Bitcoin at the moment, and there's a couple of there's a couple of solutions like eCash solutions and eCash projects, which are fairly well established, and they've been focusing on the CBDC stuff and banks and things to do eCash. And I spoke to one of them, and they've got a lot of publications, a lot of papers, they've got a lot of applications and a full stack of software. And I was speaking to them about using Bitcoin as the underlying asset for a mint, for an eCash mint. And when I was speaking to them, they all the bugbears which I was saying about, because I was basically saying, can we make a connector so we could just someone could use LN Bits or something for it. And they were saying, oh, I know Bitcoin, you've got to wait for so many blocks, and then you got to wait for the confirmation. And we really need it to be like a real-time settlement thing in order for us to be able to mint these tokens so people don't spend the tokens, blah blah blah. And it was really nice just to say like, look, all that is now redundant because we can just use Lightning Network, and it's real-time settlement, settles in a few seconds. Just adopt it, implement it, make this wire gateway so you can use Lightning Network instead. And they were super excited about it, and they went away from that meeting and I was like, yeah, cool, like now it's time. So that's a great thing for Lightning Network is just to be able to say to people, we now have a real-time settlement layer, which is very powerful.
Especially during a bear market when the price is down, it's great, like Ben says, to go to your local coffee shop or bar and get them to accept Bitcoin, because if the price goes back up as it did previously, you might be their favorite customer. I know the El Rio in San Francisco, we used to go there for the Bitcoin meetups, and we'd give them a couple $100 in Bitcoin to pay for the massive bar tab, and they accidentally kept it. So every time I went in there, they always had my drink ready. They were always happy to see me because we were the group that gave them the Bitcoin, and they might even still have it to this day. I don't know. Maybe eventually they'll be able to buy the bar or something. It's one of those things. If you can get the sats to them early, maybe it works out nice. Josh, did you have more on this Lightning issue?
No, just awesome. Use it.
Excellent. Check out Lightning. Moving on to issue 4, the most dramatic and exciting issue. First of all, Binance spokesperson confirms a $500 million investment in Elon Musk's new Twitter. That's right. Elon Musk has taken over Twitter. And as TheVerge.com wisely says by Nilay Patel, welcome to hell, Elon. You break it, you buy it. Dan, let's go to Josh Shigala first. What do you think about Elon Musk finally taking over Twitter? He came into the offices with a big sink. He fired 4 of the chief executives, including the CEO himself and the woman who ran the content moderation policy that made the decision to ban the twice impeached President Trump from the platform. What do you think, Josh? Elon is here. Twitter.
Yeah. Bring it on. It's so good. I can't wait. I'm really looking forward to seeing what they do. I mean, Elon, he really develops very quickly. A lot of his stuff that he makes, his companies make, iterate very, very quickly. And Twitter's been something that's been stale for so long. Even their spaces, Twitter Spaces, is so bad. It's so buggy and awful. It really needs someone to go in there and make it work. But what I would really like to see is, obviously, apart from an edit button, is opening up the algorithm. I want to see it. I want to see him incorporate Lightning Network. I want to see him actually allowing people to run nodes like Nostr, and maybe take on Nostr, so that, because the thing about censorship is it's really important. You can't just have no censorship, because otherwise you'll see the most awful things that human beings are capable of. And I don't want my kid to see that. And I don't want to see some of that stuff. Like, I just don't want to see it. I don't want to be going through my feed and all of a sudden someone's head's being cut open or whatever. Whatever. So you do need censorship, but there's other ways of dealing with it rather than just silencing opinion, especially political opinion. I think it's absolutely egregious and despicable to use that. Of course, it is a private company. I do believe that they have the rights to do whatever they want, and people should just leave if they didn't like it. So that is the ultimate arbitrator of censorship, is that if a group or a technology is censoring too much, then you shift. And we're seeing this with YouTube and people just heading over to Rumble instead. And the move's starting to happen fully now. The problem with that is you get these silos. So on Rumble, it's just all right-wing stuff. On YouTube, all left-wing stuff. Then, there's no actual conversation happening anymore. And it's really important that conversations happen between two groups. Otherwise, you start to get echo chambers that only stir themselves into an extreme. And so, yeah, I think it's really important that Twitter look at the way that more parties can discuss topics in a good way. There's different ways, and Twitter's so big they can run experiments to see how conversations run without just cancel culture, because cancel culture is really, as some people have forgotten who said it, but it's like a dress rehearsal for murder, really, because you just make someone disappear. You don't kill them, but you make their persona, their online persona, just disappear.
Where do you read all this stuff?
Hey,
where do you read all this stuff?
I don't know. There's weird synapses in my brain pick up. No, but look, it's rehearsal, right? If you can take someone's voice down, totally down, and that's their lifestyle, that's how they make money, that's how they live, that's how they buy food, you're basically just cutting them off for an opinion. And yeah, I can understand if you're showing child abuse or you're showing people getting murdered, then we got to cut that off. But if you're having a political opinion, I think we're all adults, we should be discussing this stuff.
Well, and we can see in the United States how incredibly effective sharing those political opinions have been. For months and weeks now, the right-wing media has been attacking Nancy Pelosi, the Speaker of the House. And finally, someone has entered her home with a hammer to attack her husband and murder her children. So great job. No, I think that Twitter and Elon are in trouble. I think that this article by The Verge predicts the future. Like Josh is saying, he will open it up to the so-called free speech. Then he will learn that the hateful and angry free speech scares away the advertisers. So it breaks the model. Then he'll have to provide censorship to this free speech. If Twitter wants to keep operating in Germany, if they want to operate in Dubai, if they want to operate in Saudi Arabia, they're going to have to censor this free speech. And just like a pack of wild dogs, the same people who are now cheering Twitter and their free speech will turn on Twitter the minute that they censor something. They have no loyalty to this. Elon will be out there, and it's going to be bad, and it's going to happen inevitably. Martin,
I don't understand why. Just quickly, why does everyone think that Elon's going to make such a big difference towards the right? Like, he's never been a right-leaning.
Well, first of
person.
all, he's been incredibly clear about allowing President Trump back on the platform.
Well, that's all right. Who cares?
Two, he's
What's
had
the big deal?
public chat meetings with the previous CEO, who was just fired today, where they disagreed on content moderation. Third of all, he's fired the woman who got rid of the twice impeached.
Yeah, impeached for what? Impeached for going after the son of the current president, making deals in Ukraine, who's now just about to take us to World War III. I mean, the guy.
The specific
the
reason he was
Biden
removed
family
from
is
Twitter
such
is
a
he
corrupt
inspired an
piece of crap.
insurrection against the United States. So
Oh,
he inspired
yeah.
an insurrection against the United States, so they banned his Twitter account. It was really simple.
You need to turn off
And
CNN.
Elon Musk disagrees with that.
I think Twitter is in trouble. I mean, really, Twitter is, in order for Twitter to be available in different countries, they will have to do some content moderation or censorship, or if they don't, it will just be game over. Like in India, you have to appoint hostages. Like, if they don't play by the rules, who will be taken hostage by the Indian government? And the EU already posted that Twitter bird will fly by our rules, basically telling Elon to go fuck himself. And if you look at like reports coming out, that many of Twitter's heavy tweeters, those are people that post 3 or 4 times per day, they account for like almost like 10% of their monthly users, but they create 90% of all the content on the platform. And those people are leaving. They're moving elsewhere. People are maybe not so much interested anymore. So in that case, in that like way, Twitter is already in trouble, and Elon is going to like magically turn it around. I mean, he's not building a rocket ship that goes to Mars. He's dealing with humans, and he's not very good at doing that, I think. So it will have some challenges, but from what I understood, he wants to like turn it into this all-in-one WeChat-like app where you pay and you book hotel reservations and you do everything in the app as the only app you'll ever need. But if that means that there's just people like screaming and shouting on there without too much content moderation, I think people will leave. So, I think he bought himself a major headache for a lot of money that he probably could have spent better elsewhere. And, I don't care whether President Trump or whoever is online. If I don't want to see it, I'll block him. I create my own bubble. But I think for the platform itself, yeah, that's a $40 billion headache.
Martin makes a good point. If Elon Musk wanted to build this all-in-one WeChat competitor app, why buy Twitter? Why get this political headache? Why even mention free speech or any of these nonsense causes which have nothing to do with the bottom line or the ability to make that app and have that app work the way you're describing? If I'm registering a hotel room, like, what do I care if so-and-so has been banned or so-and-so's using if obviously they're using bad words and putting beheadings in the feed next to my hotel reservations, it's going to be a disaster. I mean, content moderation is going to have to happen. Dan, Eve, what do you think about Elon Musk taking over Twitter and bringing in the bathroom sink or whatever that was? You're muted.
Oh, Ben put his hand up. So did you want to chip in, Ben?
And you can go.
I agree with Josh on this. I think it's actually, so there's kind of like 2 versions of Elon. there's the state sued Elon, which may just use Twitter to make a WeChat, and then all your information is in the hands of US government, right? But then there's also this idealistic, I'm going to open source parts of Twitter, Elon. If he does that, you could have, so theoretically, you can have Twitter, the Twitter experience you have now, but then you can also have the option to use that platform to connect to relays where the information isn't controlled or regulated by Twitter, and it's out the hands of Twitter because it's client-side information. And then in that way, you can have, like Josh said, you can have this self-censorship mechanism where you can only apply. So maybe if you want like horrible stuff, you can apply to this horrible relay using something like Nostar.
Yeah, and that kind of makes my point there. It's like, why would you have engineers where you're working on the potentially horrible project? Like, you're enabling horribilism. Like in case someone wants to be really bad, we're going to design the platform so that there's a separate network you can do to do horrible things.
We need a moderator in this room.
So you can have the Twitter I will have will be a very, very vanilla version of Twitter, but if you have like a client based system with using keys and stuff like we do in Nostar, and if you have that running alongside Twitter in Twitter, then they have plausible deniability. Like they're advertising on their Twitter platform on the vanilla threads, on the vanilla relays, which they control, blah, blah, blah. I'll sign up to those relays, absolutely. However, there can also be other relays providing other content, which is less censored. It may be politically, controversial or blah, blah, blah. So it is plausible that there'll be a chat platform like Twitter that will exist, which can kind of almost have the best of both worlds. That there is a business model still to be made there where advertisers will be happy, and countries, the company Twitter can say, well, this is out of our hands because this software enables people to also connect it to these third-party relays or whatever. So it is possible to build that system, and I think that would be interesting if that's what Elon Musk wants to try and build in order to enable more free speech. And it is actually also kind of desperately needed, because you can't have a centralized company which could be leaned on in any way by any country to promote certain material and then blacklist other material. It's a complicated problem to solve, but it is possible to have like them both running along parallel with each other, and there's still to be a business model there for Twitter, the business.
Well, as they said during the Dread Pirate Roberts trial, you built that website to be like a crack house, and you left it there, and you had really cheap rent. You had all these hiding places and all these things designed to enable more crack sales.
But that's centralized, so they can be blamed for the content which exists on their servers, whereas Twitter is a client-side app, and like I can just connect it to some relay which has nothing to do with Twitter, and then communicate with peers through a system which has nothing to do with Twitter. Then that they have deniability. It's got nothing to do with them. It's just that their client enables.
Why would they waste their engineering resources on something that has nothing to do with Twitter?
Because then it enables people to use.
It doesn't help the bottom line. So it's a waste.
That enables all these people to use that Twitter alongside vanilla Twitter at the same time as possible.
Because I mean, if I was Elon Musk and I had a company where we were going to go to Mars, I would have one of the divisions that's focused on going to the ocean, because that's like totally the same thing, right? Dan, Eve, what do you think? Elon Musk taking over the Twitter. He's got the bathroom sink in his hands.
I think that one thing that's evident is that since Elon took over, in the last few days, it's shown how much of a platform it's become for extremists to moan about Elon taking over Twitter. Like, the fact is that the moderation was already terrible. There was porn on all sorts of crap that you'd see. There were beheadings and random shit like that. And it was awful that would pop into your timeline. The moderations have been appalling. The only thing that's been good about the content moderation or strict is what seems to be certain political views, which isn't bad for anyone. When you segregate a bunch of people and you force, as Josh said, you force people off to go into these siloed kind of crazy other apps where they can say what they want. That is the problem. Letting people have actual discourses and debate is something that we need to have. You can't let people silo these opinions and then turn crazy. It's like the equivalent of like UK football, like football teams. They, football matches, they segregate the two different teams. Whereas like something like baseball in the US, they have, you've got different supporters next to each other, right? And what happens in the UK, you have these hordes of people that are like packs of animals, that not everyone, obviously, but they get a lot more aggressive because they're in the same mind thing. Whereas you're a bit more calm when you've got other people to actually deal with and hear their opinions, to hear this, that, and the other. So I think it seems like I do think the free speech thing, it's turned into another boogeyman. Like it's people should be able to speak freely, and you'd say that about speaking freely about LGBTQ rights, for example. But if you prevented anyone from speaking, then you wouldn't have heard these ideas and had more of a diverse society that we have now. So it's good to hear different opinions that may differ from yours, because you can hear the reasons and hear people's stories and the reasons why they believe in X, Y, and Z. But to segregate them off, I think just makes people go crazy. I think it puts them in these silos where they only hear agreeing views, and then they become that kind of, they become a spiral of focused like division, because they're not interacting with people with different views. They get to just have people that agree with them. It just becomes a yeah, oh yeah, and then they go out in the street and then they meet these other people of different opinions, and then there's issues. So I think whilst it's, you definitely need content moderation, like 100%. But content moderation, I think, hasn't been done in a good way before. But you need to fight extremism, whatever it is, and that means that you can't just blanket processes over political views, certain political views, because you're just going to get them to create their own platforms, and then you'll have two sets of crazy people, crazy extremes. But in terms of like the innovation side, it's make or break, right? This could be for Twitter. He's either going to completely screw it up, or he's going to turn it into a platform that is actually a bit more fair and usable, and have utility. Because Twitter, apart from the spaces, it really doesn't change that much. So I think from a crypto perspective, because of his happiness about interacting with cryptocurrencies, and Web3 and stuff like that, I think it's going to push crypto forward a lot, and kind of be it could be a pioneer of Web3 services integrated with the social platform. But for the rest of it, I don't know. I think it's just it's six of one and half a dozen of the other, right? Everyone's happy about censorship if you're censoring an opinion that disagrees with you, and that's just the way the world works.
I just think they're gonna have
crazy times.
Well, even though they're getting rid of the stockholders and they're not going to be a publicly traded company anymore, as a company, as a corporation, I think they're gonna have a really hard time pitching to anybody that like we're making tools for radicals, and we're making tools that could help like hate groups organize, and we want to help you have your secret meetings and your secret discussions on our platform, and you won't be tracked. Again, like the designing of a crack house, like you're designing a crack house.
You could say those same.
I hope it won't be used for crack sales.
You could say the same arguments against Bitcoin. To be fair, you could say that look, we're building a better tool for Bitcoin.
No, I can't, because Bitcoin's not a centralized company. Bitcoin's not a for-profit company. Bitcoin was dropped on the internet. If Twitter was dropped on the internet, it would be more like what you're describing. Unfortunately, it's an advertiser-backed giant company that he just paid, I don't know, $50 billion for or whatever.
44, right? 44.
44.
You can have both. You can have both. You can have the best of both worlds.
Yeah.
It's just a technological, hurdle.
I just don't understand why, if you let people talk, why it promotes.
Josh mentioned Noster, and then was like, you saw his eyes lit up. Noster. Did anybody?
It could be possible.
It could be possible
that like I can connect. Me and Josh, we can connect to our subversive relay, and we can have content feeding in, and we can be communicating with each other. But it can be done in such a way where people who aren't connected to that subversive relay, they don't have that content. And also Twitter, they have complete deniability. It's like, we've got nothing to do with this content.
Deniability is not enough for a real company. I agree, for software and for like making things, that approach is better, and that's a more open approach, and that's not an advertiser driven approach. This is a huge company that's based on tracking.
You can do both. They'll have vanilla tweets coming through.
You can't do both. Like, you can't be like, we're secretly supervillains at Twitter and we're helping it. No, they're in a different direction, and you guys are going to see it's going to hit this big wall, and they're going to start moderating content, and then you guys are going to call them the same names that you call the other people. You're going to be like, Twitter's censoring us again. Elon's, the new boss is just like the old boss. And you'll be all surprised. You'll be like, I can't believe this happened, but it'll happen.
You have
I think, but again, it depends on this
future.
if they're censoring like bad stuff, then yeah, but censoring people talking because the opinions don't align with your own, there's a completely different thing. And just because you have a different opinion, it doesn't make your make you an
justified
extremist.
like all kinds of horrible hate speech.
Yes and no. Like,
there's almost loads. Just search
so
for
forth.
there's loads of hate speech on the internet. It's just allowed hate speech on Twitter specifically. You can search for certain terms, and if you flipped the sort of the key word in there, you'd find a landslide against the other one that's socially acceptable to kind of, for example, I'm an atheist, but it's very clear that you can't, it's very open season to diss Catholics and Christians, but in other religions, there's, you can't do that. So that's not a fair world. What a fair world would one where we each treat each other equally and nicely. So I think that there's definitely differences in how the censoring actually works. That's not beneficial to everyone. Everyone needs an equal playing field, and at the moment,
everyone needs the block button. I block everyone that has ETH in their name immediately. I don't even read the I just block them. I'm just like, nah. We need that block button. And if they don't censor the .eth post for me, then I will do it myself with the block button, one tweet at a time.
Now there's got to be an extension for that, right? Because they they provided
don't connect those .eth relays. Just you can self-censor. It's possible.
There you go, Twitter Noster.
I do think a lot of this is because
the
internet was designed improperly. Once the internet was set up as a government project, as a collegiate project, the corporations came in. They had more money because of advertising. They hired better programmers. They moved faster. They captured spaces the way that Facebook captured things and that Twitter captured things. And then people think that Facebook or Twitter are like an open square or a public square because it's on the internet. But really, they captured that. They made their own thing. Twitter is not a protocol that we all connect to, that we can just unsubscribe and have whatever. It's a controlled company that's advertiser backed, that was stock funded, that was IPO'd, that was all of these systems to create that controlled version of the internet. And they did it faster than the other people, and they beat the open source people, and they beat the open internet people, and all those people that we all believed in, we all lost. Like Facebook, Twitter, these things won. But now people have this false belief that it's an open public square, and we're going to see that come right up against that content moderation and the reality that you're defending horrible things.
I think it's just like proprietary and free and open source software. I don't think it's a case of you're going to build free and open source solutions which will replace the proprietary software. I just think it's a case of the proprietary software solutions will adopt free and open source, solutions and as part of their stack. And I think that's where Twitter probably will go, and Facebook will probably go eventually. Like rather than be surpassed by some free and open source thing, they'll see the writing on the wall, and then they'll build more free and open source parts of their software as free and open source, and it will be done in such a way where you can have free speech in that platform, but you can also have like a very vanilla version of that if you want to. So I think it's not going to be replaced. It's just going to adopt the sort of free and open source and a free and open source society methodology, I think.
I think they're much more likely to kind of co-opt it and try to take it over and not actually give the change that you want. Because again, as advertiser-backed, shareholder-backed companies, free speech, it does not serve the advertisers.
Well, it's like Bitcoin and the banks. It's like what's going to happen?
Nonsense thing to say.
What's going to happen? I mean,
advertising works, Josh. You don't want your ad next to someone getting beheaded. It's really
it's like Bitcoin.
The horrible speech. The right wing's like, our speech isn't bad. We just tell people to shit on Nancy Pelosi, and then someone gets an advertisement next to your thing about shitting on Nancy Pelosi. It's not about the political content. It's that it's bad content for advertisers.
Well, okay. What about people celebrating Rand Paul when he got attacked, or or the guy running after what's his name? Not that I like the court judge Kavanaugh with a gun. Like it's acceptable when it's on one side, but when it's on another side, it seems to be it's
the same
bad.
thing. Right? You wouldn't want your ad next to someone.
It's bad in both ways. It's bad in both ways.
Advertiser people are going to be pretty standard on that. They're going to be like, yeah, we don't like either radical thing that you're presenting us. There's nothing for free speech. Advertisers just don't want that. These companies are advertiser based. Like this is where
Can't we just all get
that's
along?
also
Just
like
want to all get along.
You'll get people that head towards the right that maybe are more into prepping and gardening and
Greenkeeping.
making your own oatmeal and stuff. And on the left, you'll get hair dye and I don't know,
Guns.
Gardening,
self-abortion
and oatmeal,
kits
and
stuff, you know, home
it all comes
abortion
down to
kits.
oatmeal. All comes down to oat milk. We're all drinking oat milk.
but it's the
in
same.
end.
Oatmeal.
They all want
On
nice
the left,
good.
you'll get
content they can put ads
genital
on.
mutilation kits where you can just swap your gender just any which way
Is
you
that
like.
a thing nowadays?
You know, there'll always be companies that will market to any old extremist.
Yeah, business models on either side.
But again, as a company, you want to have the biggest ads, the most money. You want Coca-Cola and Pepsi. You don't want your horrible crap
But
ads.
Twitter,
Like,
if Twitter
they want
isn't,
clean
yeah,
content.
sure,
It doesn't
but
matter. Like,
everything you're saying here is like Twitter in the current model. But if he is planning to make a WeChat platform and there's all these additional revenue streams which can happen for the Twitter company, it could still be a very profitable company. But then it could still also have the ability for people to communicate in a way which is outside of the regulation of the private company or the government which controls a private company.
I completely agree with that. But if I was going to do that, why would I buy Twitter? Well, you want the users, I guess, but you have all these advertising people, all this like industry, all this thing that you've built. If he's going to completely throw that out, which is a possibility, he's crazy. But yeah, that if he could fund it in an alternative way, he could then have it. But again, who's going to pay for this horrible content that you're just
Twitter could kind of Amazon it.
Satoshi for Twitter.
You could set up a shop. You could set up like Twitter people could have shops like, and then you have an Amazon like store or better type store, but on your Twitter thing with reputation.
Yeah, and they can be attached to your Nasdaq keys like Diagon Alley.
Yeah, there you go. Your reputation.
So like, what kind of
keys.
shop are you thinking then? Like your local dealer, or what kind of shops will be on Twitter?
I'm thinking of an extremist shop because it's going to be in the hands of extremists now.
Yeah. Guns and blow, good reputation, 5 stars.
Because there'll be more free speech. There'll be megaphones with guns built in.
Yeah.
I think only time will tell. Really, we disagree on this, which I think is good.
I think the biggest problem that Twitter has, which I don't think it's alone to Twitter, but it is the bots. The bots are coming so hard and fast, and if anyone's playing around with some of the newest AI, it's indistinguishable from people. So you cannot tell. Captures are gone; they're easily passed. So Twitter is just going to be so full of bots talking to each other, and you just won't know. Elon won't know. There's no way to figure it out.
It's the same as Facebook, or even worse, Instagram right now. You can't post anything on Instagram without bots responding with spammy comments. It's I think it's not just Twitter, it's everywhere.
It's everywhere. The internet will be 99.9959% bots and tiny bit of human.
It's like those password fields on the internet. Did you know that 60% of all attempts for passwords are bots trying to hack somebody else's password? And of all the login attempts on all the websites, it's just 40% really legitimate people trying to log in. The rest is just bots and scripts trying to
crawlers and
stuff. Accounts. Yes,
it's crazy. Well, even like the just even now, like there's so many bots on Twitter. It's like every crypto based post now has this thing underneath. The common one now is like, oh my God, I can't believe no one's talking about it. And then it links to some sort of dumbass YouTube video. But they're in the thousands. They're not even shy about, like, they use the same terminology. And yet somehow the Twitter bot algo doesn't pick that up. It's definitely in a shit state.
But wait till that is mixed with GPT-3 that can be totally every message can be absolutely different. And
but like, most of the popular topics on Twitter right now are cryptocurrency and not safe for work content. So this is like totally different than 5 years ago when Twitter was about everything, and now it's just crypto bots trying to push unwanted advice. And and people posting their pictures of their junk online. Well, I think, that's like weird.
All right.
Yeah. All right.
Giggity,
So
giggity.
yeah, I think the platform is slowly sinking, and Elon bought himself a massive, massive migraine headache by
Castle
buying
of
Twitter.
bots.
But time will tell.
Well, and coming up right here on YouTube, we've got a great video where Elon Musk is going to double your Bitcoin. That's right. Just send your Bitcoin to the QR code on your screen. Elon
link
Musk will
below.
send you twice as much Bitcoin back. Guaranteed. It says so on the screen. My cousin tried it. He's so rich now. But we're running out of time. Exit. First, we're going to go to predictions or story of the week. Josh Shigala, are you ready with a prediction or a story of the week? Go ahead.
Last week we launched our competition, leaderboard points competition, because there's a wait list for our software that we've been building, our stablecoin solution, for the last year. And we're going to launch on the 28th. So jump in on the waitlist. We're giving away $1.45 million worth of TST, as well as tokenized gold. And there's a couple of NFTs there as well, and some other things. So depending on where you are. So in the leaderboard. So jump on to thestandard.io. It's really exciting. The chat in the Discord is really blown up, out of control. So it's starting to get really exciting. Come along, join the fun.
Artine Wishmayer, prediction or story of the week. Go ahead.
I got a story of the week. We're going to the La BitConf next month in Latin America. And if you're in the area or you're planning to go there, I've got only for people that watch this show, a 75% discount coupon. So, you can spend it on nice cocktails instead. So the code to use is general minus ELK. So that will give you a super high 75% discount for the La BitConf. Don't tell all your friends, because once we're out of the quota, we don't have any left. So there's only for limited time. If you're going to La BitConf, we had Rodolfo here on the show like a year ago or so. It's going to be a really good show. General Byte sponsoring it. So general minus ELK is your 75% discount code. Boom.
And shout out to Rodrigo, great friend of the show, and an incredible conference down there at La BitConf. Had some of the early Andreas videos. It's been going for a long time at La BitConf.
I would say it's one of the very best conferences in the world, and there's a lot of conferences.
Dan Eve, are you ready with a prediction or a story of the week? Go ahead.
I predict that I'm gonna predict that it's not going to be as bad as everyone thinks, the Twitter takeover, and hopefully they make it just a better place for everyone. So I'm going to go for nice, and even though it's Elon and lots of people hate him, I hope they make it a better place with less bots and just a nicer platform. There you go. That's my prediction. My prediction is flowers and rabbits and everyone like skipping through meadows in Twitter. That's going to be my I hope it's going to be like that, because
rainbows, lollipops,
everything, flowers, meadows, all that shit.
Sounds fantastic. And it looks like Ben Ark is back, perhaps with a demo of LN Bits. Go ahead, Ben. What's going on?
No, I switched to the thing where you can tip me and then have an animation come up. Although, I mean, I'm debugging because I wasn't sure whether it was working or not. So story of the week or prediction. Story of the week was probably the eCash thing, and then prediction doesn't like it's working. Prediction is the what have we got? We've got adopting Bitcoin coming up in El Salvador in a few weeks. So looking forward to that. There's also a Brazilian conference we're going to be going to, the SATS conference, I think. That should be good too. So I'll be there doing some workshops. Our story of the week is we made the LMPOS and the Bitcoin switch super duper easy using a web installer. So now it's like building Lego. You can just get the parts, plug in the parts, and then flash it from the website. And you don't need to do any downloading of Arduino or anything like that. And it makes it there was a kid in Edinburgh, and he wanted a point of sale. He's a busker. And within like 3 minutes, I'd set him up with a point of sale where he could like accept Bitcoin and then also sell Bitcoin to customers as well. So it's pretty cool. And that was all through the web browser, and you can configure it through the web browser as well. So
Amazing.
he has a little device, and he can type in how much you want to donate, and it makes the QR code, and then it sends him the money. Yeah.
Yeah. Brilliant.
Very cool. Very
Works a treat. Did anyone pay the QR code? Is it just not working?
My
Sorry,
phone is
nobody
my
paid
camera
you.
this week.
Everyone's so cheap.
Shout out to Apple for letting me use my phone as my camera, so I can't use my phone. So
You gotta go plus 10 sats. Go for 12 sats. See what happens. See
I
if
don't
it works.
actually have my phone
Man, I
on.
hope it works.
Dan's trying it.
doesn't work,
Everyone's
it's
trying this. Let's see. Put Ben up there.
See if the audience can do it first. Come
Ah,
on.
there he is.
Oh, there it is.
We got a
Martin,
gift. There we
very
go.
cool.
Good stuff.
So thanks everybody for donating. Check out all those conferences. Let us know down in the comments below in the chat what you think about Twitter, what you think about censorship and all these exciting issues. Be sure to give us a thumbs up and subscribe. Until next week. Bye.